In October 1992, the Hamas delegation visited Tehran, where they secured an annual $30 million subsidy along with promises of weapons and military training. They even opened an office in Tehran, underlining their shared strategic vision for the Palestinian cause in its Islamic dimension. Between 1990 and 2000, Iran's financial support for Hamas ranged from $20 million to $50 million annually. During this period, Iran maintained connections with Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Fatah Party. Despite their political rivalry with Hamas, various events such as the Second Intifada, the U.S. invasion of Iraq, the death of Yasser Arafat, and Hamas's electoral victory brought Iran and Hamas closer. The international isolation of the newly elected Hamas government in 2006 led its leadership to turn to Iran for support. Some have speculated, mainly officials from the rival Palestinian Authority, that Iran played a role in planning the Hamas coup in 2007 and its violent takeover of Gaza. During this turbulent period, Iran's support for Hamas continued to grow. Hamas Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh visited Tehran, where he met with Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei and President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Iran reportedly provided Hamas with $215 million. This support intensified during the 2008 Gaza war, with Iran increasing its aid, including more advanced rockets, to Hamas. Considering these developments and Iran's substantial support, the question arises, could Hamas be considered a proxy of Iran? A proxy is when one entity acts on behalf of another, typically more powerful, to advance shared goals. In the case of Hamas and Iran, Hamas can be seen as a proxy of Iran. Iran provides significant support to Hamas, including weapons, training, and funding, aligning with Iran's regional objectives, especially regarding Israel. Iran's Quds Force helps Hamas with weapons, technical assistance, training, and substantial funding. What makes this a classic proxy relationship is their shared objectives. Iran views Hamas as a crucial player in its regional strategy, particularly concerning Israel. While Hamas maintains some independence due to its size and diverse financial resources, its actions often align with Iran's interests in the Palestinian arena. But why is Iran doing this? Iran's support for groups like Hamas and its animosity towards Israel can be traced back to the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Before the revolution, Iran and Israel maintained a secret alliance with close military and economic cooperation. However, with the establishment of the Islamic Republic, Iran's stance shifted dramatically. The new leadership declared its intent to eliminate Israel as a state, viewing it as a U.S. proxy and a legal occupier of Jerusalem, which they held responsible for what they termed the genocide of Palestinians. This led to active support for groups confronting Israel, including Hezbollah and Hamas, with substantial military aid. Israel, in response, has reportedly engaged in efforts to disrupt Iran's nuclear program, as it perceives Iran's potential development of nuclear weapons as a threat to its existence. This antagonistic relationship between Iran and Israel has resulted in ongoing hostilities and periodic conflicts in the region. The argument that Hamas is an Iran proxy begins with the material support provided by Iran. Experts suggest that Iran supplies Hamas with not just weaponry, but also training and financial resources. This backing puts Hamas in a unique position as a non-Shia Sunni group, receiving support from predominantly Shia Iran. While other Iranian proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis in Yemen work closely in concert with the Iranian regime, Hamas stands as an exception, marked by a significant political and ideological rift. But is it too simplistic to label Hamas as an Iran proxy? Some argue that the connection between the two is far less clear-cut. Although Iran does provide material support to Hamas, it doesn't direct its actions. Furthermore, there's limited evidence to suggest that Hamas and Iran coordinate their plans closely. Unlike Hezbollah's close ties with Iran, Hamas operates with a significant degree of autonomy. Hezbollah, known as the Party of God, is a Shiite Muslim political party and militant group based in Lebanon. It emerged during Lebanon's civil war and was an Iranian initiative to unite different Shiite militant groups. Their core goals include opposing Israel and resisting Western influence in the Middle East. Hezbollah has received substantial financial and military support from Iran, which has helped them become a powerful force. They are often viewed as a significant proxy for Iran in the region, and their main adversary is Israel. Hezbollah has been involved in hostilities with Israel and has carried out attacks on Israeli and Jewish targets abroad. Initially, Hezbollah consisted of various military networks with similar strategic goals but different tactics. Over time, it solidified its affiliation with Iran, effectively becoming Iran's proxy in the region. Iran is believed to provide Hezbollah with substantial financial backing, ranging from $700 million to $1 billion annually. Hamas, rooted in its ideological connection with the Muslim Brotherhood, has benefited from Iranian funding and training. However, this support is not indicative of puppetry. Hamas maintains its independent decision-making process. Coordination with Iran is not a given, especially considering the sophisticated intelligence network Israel maintains within the Iranian regime. Hamas has displayed its own agency in the tumultuous landscape of Middle Eastern politics. During the Syrian civil war, Hamas took a stance against President Bashar al-Assad's Syria, highlighting its distinct political agenda. The group welcomes support from any nation sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, allowing for a diverse range of alliances. Iran provides substantial support to Hamas, with estimated annual funding of around $100 million. This support encompasses financial aid, training, and weaponry, with additional contributions from Gulf Arab countries. Hamas, originating from the 1980s as a Sunni jihadist offshoot of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood, formalized its goals to destroy Israel and portrayed Jews as warmongers. The alliance between Hamas and Iran deepened during Iran's Palestine conferences in 1990 to 1991, serving as a counterbalance to the Arab-Israeli peace process. The collaboration involved shared experiences, such as training received by key Hamas figures deported to Lebanon in 1992 from the Israeli government. This training, provided by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah, focused on building and using suicide bombs, a tactic pioneered by Hezbollah. It marked the onset of Iran's significant financial support for Hamas, amounting up to $50 million annually. Iran, in conjunction with Hezbollah, initially assisted Hamas engineers in creating rockets from easily available materials, enabling the production of the Qassam rocket. Following Israel's 2005 withdrawal from Gaza, Hamas collected unexploded Israeli ordnance for rocket manufacturing and received more advanced rockets from Iran and Syria. This partnership notably enhanced Hamas's rocket capabilities, as evident during the 2012 conflict when it launched long-range Iranian Fajr 5 rockets at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Hamas and Hezbollah shifted their tactics from suicide terrorism to rocket attacks, bolstered by the use of tunnels and civilian human shields to evade airstrikes. A newly released video showing the meeting between Iran's foreign minister and senior Hamas leader has brought significant attention. It highlights the ongoing communication between Iran and Hamas regarding their militant goals, emphasizing their deep-rooted ties and shared strategic interests. Foreign Minister Amir Abdollahian issued a stern warning to Israel and the United States, suggesting that continued Israeli military strikes in Gaza could lead to an escalation throughout the Middle East. He specifically implicated the United States, framing the ongoing conflict as a proxy war carried out by Israel on behalf of the U.S. U.S. officials have expressed concerns about potential escalations, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken acknowledging the likelihood of escalation from Iranian proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas. Meanwhile, Hezbollah, Iran's proxy in Lebanon, declared its readiness to fight against Israel, further increasing regional tensions. In response to these threats, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed his nation, stressing the severity of the situation and warning Hezbollah against involvement in the conflict, with promises of severe consequences for Lebanon if they do so. These subsequent warnings from Iran's foreign minister have raised concerns about the escalating conflict in Gaza, where, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, more than 4,600 Palestinians have lost their lives. In response, Israel announced an intensification of airstrikes. Hamas's role as Iran's potential proxy has raised considerable debate and concern. Israel has long believed that Iran, while providing financial and military support to Hamas, prefers to avoid direct conflict with Israel, relying on its Lebanese ally, Hezbollah, as a deterrent against potential Israeli attacks on its nuclear facilities. The ongoing conflict in Gaza has the potential to reshape the dynamics in the region and across the Middle East. While Hezbollah has increased its activities aimed at challenging Israel, it currently seems content with relatively limited actions to support the Palestinian cause while maintaining established engagement rules with Israel. Various factors influence this restraint, including the situation in Lebanon, Israeli Defense Forces mobilization in northern Israel, and strong American support for Israel, symbolized by the presence of 2 aircraft carriers in the eastern Mediterranean, which seems to deter Hezbollah and Iran from direct military engagement. Iran is likely to shift its efforts towards the diplomatic arena, both regionally and globally. The war in Gaza provides an opportunity for Iran to strengthen its axis of resistance concept and exert pressure on Arab states that have normalized or considered normalizing relations with Israel. Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi reached out to the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in pursuit of this diplomatic objective. The underlying conflict revolves around Iran's strategy to pull moderate Arab states away from the US and Israel, while the US aims to strengthen its relations with these states. American warnings to Iran focus on two key points. Tehran should avoid direct military assistance to Hamas during this conflict, and it should not exploit the war to expand its nuclear program. The Biden administration, keen on avoiding the perception of being soft on Iran, will shape its Iran policy in the coming weeks and months. Iran, in turn, will be cautious not to provoke the US into adopting a more forceful stance against it. On a global level, Russia and China, along with Iran and its allies, may challenge the credibility and competence of the US as a power broker and mediator in the Middle East. They may portray the US as a source of instability while positioning themselves as neutral arbiters. Recent events have disrupted the long-standing status quo and rules of engagement in the region, leaving many stakeholders with evolving roles and interests in the complex Israeli-Iranian proxy war. House Republicans are working on a bill to grant President Joe Biden authority to strike Iran-backed proxy forces across the Middle East if the Israel-Hamas conflict escalates. The bill aims to address concerns about the potential intensification of attacks on Israel by Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah. The proposal seeks to specifically target Iran-aligned groups without geographic constraints. However, there are differing opinions about its necessity, with some, like Representative Gregory Meeks, suggesting the Biden administration should handle such matters. As a response to the Israel-Hamas conflict, the Biden administration has deployed 2 aircraft carrier strike groups and ordered approximately 2,000 troops to prepare for support roles in Israel. The U.S. has also issued warnings to Iran and Hezbollah against intervening in the war and discussed the potential use of military force if Hezbollah gets involved. This situation underscores the ongoing tensions in the region, with the U.S. Congress considering legislation that could significantly impact the conflict's escalation. As the situation unfolds, it's essential to remember that these geopolitical intricacies have real-life consequences for the people living in the affected areas. The pursuit of peace and stability remains a challenging goal, and dialogue and diplomacy are critical in addressing these complex issues. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it.